I work at a diner. Most people think it's ordinary, neon sign, checkered floors, mugs clinking against plates. But I've been on the midnight shift long enough to know otherwise. The clock on the wall ticks slower here, or maybe faster. I can't tell. It doesn't matter. What matters is the time between 12:17 and 3:42. That's when everything changes. The shift begins at 10. The place hums with the familiar quiet of late night work. The hiss of the coffee machine, the faint sizzle from the kitchen. The regulars trickle in, strangers at first glance, but even in these hours, I can feel something different. By 12:15, I can feel it pressing in, like the air itself is holding its breath. The neon open sign in the front window flickers once, twice, then dies. That's the cue. The diner transforms. No one speaks. Not the staff. Not the customers. I can't speak. My co-workers can't speak. Even our gestures are measured, precise, like we're part of a ritual we don't fully understand. Only the sounds of silverware on plates, the gentle slide of cups across counters, break the silence. Every clink is louder than it should be, echoing in the empty spaces between us. The first of them arrives from across the street, from the cemetery. At first, they look human, ordinary late-night patrons. But the way they move, the way their eyes glint under the dim lights, is different. They sit and wait, quietly. They order, each meal a memory of a life once lived, a joy once known. I serve them without menus, without conversation. I nod, I point, I gesture, nothing more. Sometimes, they try to tempt us. A tip left on the table, shiny and bright. I avoid it, leaving it set aside. A glance that lingers too long, a question that hangs in the air, my fingers freeze mid-motion, and I respond only with the smallest tilt of my head. Every rule is a tether, keeping something contained, though I'll never know exactly what. The staff don't speak to each other either. We move in tandem, silently, rehearsed, every step choreographed by some unseen hand. Shadows stretch unnaturally, bending along walls and floors. Reflections in the chrome counters don't quite match what I see. Chairs shift just slightly when I look away. The air tastes heavier here, thick with something I can't name. And yet, the ghosts smile. They eat, they sip, they're content. Their joy is real, their satisfaction is real, but I can't shake the feeling that all of it exists just out of reach of reason, like I'm watching something that shouldn't exist, yet it does. Time passes differently here. The minutes drag like hours, and the hours slip like water through fingers. I watch the clock, 12:17, 12:45, 1:03, 2:11, 3 o'clock. Every tick brings the quiet closer to something tangible, something aware. I don't know what happens if the rules are broken. I don't want to find out. I only know the rules exist. 5 of them, simple, unyielding, necessary. And so I work, I serve, I observe. In the eerie silence, with only the clink of silver and the soft slide of plates, I do my job. Because if I ever speak, if I ever break the rules, if I ever step outside between 12:17 and 3:42, I don't know what will happen. I don't want to know. The hours between 12:17 and 3:42 stretch endlessly. The diner's lights are dim, shadows pulling in corners that should have been empty. I keep moving, taking orders, refilling coffee, clearing plates. The staff move alongside me, silent and exact. Every gesture matters, every glance avoided. That's when they start testing me. A new face slips in through the door, or perhaps it's always been there, waiting. They sit at the far corner table, posture too straight, hands folded in a way that's just slightly unnatural. I approach, nod politely, tilt my head toward the specials board, and the ghost tilts his head back in response. Not a word, nothing, but the eyes, they pierce through me. I slide their plate toward them without speaking. They glance at it, then at me, then they place something on the table. A coin, shiny and heavy. I hesitate, my fingers freeze. Reflexively, I avoid it, my gesture awkward, deliberate. The tip will vanish as soon as my back is turned. They try again, subtle this time. A question lingers in the air, unspoken, like it curls around my ears. Do you see me? I do, but I can't answer. Not with words, not with sound, only a tilt of the head, a slow gesture toward the chair. Their smile widens, not in mockery, not in anger, but in amusement. The test has begun, and I am the subject. Other patrons move through the diner with quiet contentment, unaware, or pretending to be, of the tension building around me. The clink of silverware, the soft slide of plates, every sound amplified in the unnatural silence. Each echo reminds me of the rules, the thin boundary keeping this place contained, controlled. The clock ticks, 12:58, shadows stretch along the walls, creeping closer, or maybe it's just my imagination. Every movement I make is watched, every tilt of my head calculated. My hands shake slightly as I pour coffee. I cannot speak, I cannot meet eyes for more than a fleeting second. I cannot accept a tip, no matter how innocent it appears. And yet, the ghost across the room leans forward slightly, and for a moment I think I see curiosity, maybe even something like desire. I feel it tug at the edges of my mind, a pull to break the rules, to speak, to respond. The tiniest urge, the smallest crack in my focus, could be all it takes. I swallow hard. I keep moving. I serve. I nod. I point. I gesture. Nothing more. The diner hums with silent life around me. Ghosts, shadows, time itself, all bending in the space between the seconds. I am part of it now. I am tethered to it, bound by rules I do not fully understand. And I tell myself, quietly, without words, that I will survive this shift. By now, the diner is alive in ways most people could never notice. Not with sound, there's still only the clink of silverware, the faint slide of cups on the counters, the soft scrape of chairs, but in the way the light moves, the shadows bend, the reflections betray the truth of what is here. I move from table to table, serving plates with care, nodding, gesturing, avoiding eyes. The ghosts eat with joy, their faces calm, serene, lost in memories of lives they once lived. Their contentment is contagious, almost comforting, but there's always that other edge, the one that makes my stomach tighten and my hands shake. I glance at the chrome counter. My reflection is there, or it should be. But my reflection lags, just a fraction, like it's a moment behind, a second off from my movements. I blink, and it matches again. I shake my head, telling myself I'm imagining it. A chair scrapes against the floor behind me, slow, deliberate, though no one has moved from that corner. I spin, ready to catch a staff member at fault, but the spot is empty. The shadows stretch along the wall, longer than they should be, curling around corners, creeping toward the center of the room. One ghost smiles at me, the corners of their mouth lifting in perfect, serene contentment. They tilt their head, just slightly, and I feel it, a pull at the edge of my mind, subtle and insistent. Not a question, not a word, but something that makes me want to break the rules. Speak, move, interact in ways I shouldn't. I grip the tray tighter. I pour coffee carefully, silent, measured. A plate slides along the counter, too slow, too deliberate, and I catch it with a small, practiced gesture. Nothing more. Time bends. Minutes stretch and collapse, shadows ripple across the walls, and the diner itself feels aware. I sense eyes in the corners where there are no eyes, whispers in the silence that aren't there. The rules keep me tethered. No menus, no speaking, no tips, no eye contact, no leaving. I obey. I survive. And yet, every clink of silverware, every slide of a cup, every soft scrape of a chair against the floor tells me the diner is waiting. Watching. Learning. The customers eat. They smile. They're content. And I move, silently, tethered to the rules, bound by the silence, surrounded by shadows that stretch a little too long, reflections that lag, and a world that bends just enough to make me question whether I am still in it, or if I ever really was. The hours stretch between 12:17 and 3:42, heavy and slow. Every movement I make must be precise, measured, silent. The diner hums only with the clink of silverware on plates, the slide of cups across counters, the scrape of chairs against the floor. They don't speak, not that it matters to the spirits. The ghosts arrive from the cemetery across the street, sit, and enjoy their meals as if nothing is strange at all. I serve without menus, without words, without acknowledgement beyond the smallest nod or gesture. They don't notice. They don't need to. A ghost lifts a fork to their lips, pausing as the flavors bring a memory to the surface. A roasted chicken, a simple dish, but their face relaxes, a smile tugging at the corners of their mouth. Eyes closed, they savor it, reliving a Sunday dinner long past, warmth, laughter, the faint scent of herbs carried on the air. I watch, silently, feeling the weight of the rules pressing down on me, the oddness of my own restraint. Another ghost stirs a bowl of sweet corn pudding, their fingers tracing the rim as if it unlocks a memory. Their joy is complete, and they glance at me only briefly, curiosity flickering for a second, like I am the strange one here, the one who does not speak, who does not eat, who moves like a shadow between tables. A third ghost leans slightly forward, unaware of my vigilance, eating a slice of apple pie with eyes closed, letting the sweetness and warmth take them to a remembered kitchen decades ago. Their contentment is absolute, yet every gesture I make to serve them, nod, tilt, step aside, feels heavy, deliberate, ritualized. They would not understand the rules if I tried to explain them, and that is what makes it all the more isolating. The diner hums with life that is completely unaware of its oddities. I move, I obey, I serve. The ghosts eat, they remember, they smile. And I remain the silent observer, tethered to 5 simple, unspoken rules, in a world that sees me as the odd one. By now, the silence has become a weight pressing down on my shoulders. Each clink of silverware, each faint slide of a cup across the counter, resonates louder than it should, echoing in corners that feel far too deep. Shadows stretch and curl along walls where no one stands. Reflections lag, ever so slightly, in the chrome counters, the polished glass of the windows, mirrors I don't dare meet fully. The ghosts move through their meals as if nothing is odd, lifting forks to lips, tasting, pausing, savoring. A roasted chicken here, a bowl of creamy corn pudding there, a slice of apple pie dusted with cinnamon. Their faces tell me everything. Laughter from a forgotten kitchen, warmth from a family meal long gone, the bittersweet nostalgia of life remembered in bites of food. And still, they glance at me sometimes, curiosity flickering. They do not understand me, the odd one moving silently among them. I move with care, obeying the rules without thought. No words, no menus, no tips, no eye contact, no leaving. My hands shake slightly as I pour coffee. My gestures are precise, practiced, ritualized. Even the staff cannot speak, not during these hours. And yet, the diner itself begins to fray at the edges. Chairs shift ever so slightly when I look away. Shadows ripple, stretching toward corners that shouldn't exist. Reflections waver, a momentary lag betraying shapes that aren't mine. The neon sign outside is dark, but its light still pulses faintly in the glass, a heartbeat I cannot touch, a presence I cannot name. Time moves differently here. Minutes stretch, then collapse, bending around the room. I wonder if I have always been here, or if I've only arrived this shift. My pulse quickens, and yet I do not speak. I cannot. I obey the rules. I survive. The ghosts eat. They remember. They smile. And all I can do is watch, silent, tethered to 5 rules that bind me as tightly as the shadows that stretch along the floor. The diner hums with life that is not aware of itself, yet alive nonetheless. And I am caught in the center, the odd one, the observer, the silent keeper of the ritual. Each plate I carry, each nod I give, each gesture I make is a lifeline, a tether to reality that feels increasingly fragile. The longer the night drags on, the more I sense it bending, the more I realize that in this silence, in this routine, I may be the one being observed as much as I observe. And still, I move. And still, I obey. And still, I survive. The clock ticks past 3. 3 o'clock, 3:17, 3:28. Each minute drags, heavy and sticky. The diner feels smaller, though the shadows have stretched longer than any wall should allow. I move from table to table, silent, careful. Every clink of silverware echoes like a bell in a cathedral. Every slide of a plate is magnified, amplified by the emptiness around me. The ghosts eat without awareness, oblivious to the tension pressing down on me. A bowl of creamy corn pudding, a slice of apple pie, a plate of roasted chicken, each meal a memory resurrected in flavors and scents. Their eyes close, their lips twitch in feigned smiles, and I watch, silently, as though the joy they experience is some fragile thing I must preserve. They are unaware of the rules, they do not understand the silence. But I am aware. A reflection in the chrome counter catches my eye. My own movements lag a fraction behind reality, a twitch delayed, as if some other presence is mimicking me, waiting for a misstep. I step back instinctively. Shadows ripple along the walls. Chairs shift as I look away, subtle, almost imperceptible, yet undeniable. My pulse thrums in my ears. I have been here before. Every night, for weeks, months, perhaps longer. And still, the rules hold me. No menus, no words, no tips, no eye contact, no leaving. I obey. I survive. One ghost lifts a fork to their lips, tasting his meal. A smile stretches across their face. It is not meant for me, not directed at anyone, yet I feel it brush against my consciousness like a warning, a reminder that I am different. The diner hums quietly around us, alive in ways I cannot name. I feel it then, at the edge of perception. A pressure in the air, a pull in the shadows, a tug at the lagging reflection in the counter. The rules press in on me, tighter than ever. I must not speak. I must not move too quickly. I must obey. 3:42. The neon, open, sign flickers back to life. The shadows shrink, the reflections stabilize, the air lightens. The ghostly patrons, still unaware, continue to eat, to remember, to savor the last bits of life that linger in their meals. The diner exhales, releasing its hold, and I am left standing, trembling, silent, but alive. The shift will continue until 5, but the window has passed. The rules relax, words are allowed, I can finally speak to the other staff without fear. Yet I know it will begin again tomorrow. 12:17 to 3:42, the hours that bend reality, test my mind, and remind me that the diner is not quite ordinary. That I am not quite ordinary. And I will return. Because it is my job, and this is my life.
Thank you for hanging around until the end of our tale. Every view is appreciated. If you have enjoyed it, please hit that like button and considering commenting and subscribing.